All right, I will revert to prior practice here and reiterate for us all our vision and our mission, and then we'll get our meeting started. So as a reminder and an affirmation that our vision is that we believe in opportunities, achievement, and community for all. And the mission of our district to support that vision is that the School District of Milton, in partnership with the community, prepare our students for achievement and lifetime readiness by providing opportunity for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Mr. Diamond, are you aware of any changes to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. That was Rick's motion, seconded by John to approve our agenda. Are there questions? All in favor of approval, signify with aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Thank you. And the minutes are in board docs for perusal or approval.
I would move to approve the minutes for the regular meeting held on August 28, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Thank you. That was Dave's motion, and we'll give Tracy the second on that one. Anybody have questions on the minutes? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And vouchers would follow for normal.
I'll move to approve general checking account vouchers totaling $264,263.89 as presented.
I'll second that.
Thank you. John's motion was seconded by Dave to approve our checking account vouchers in the amount that he enumerated. Are there questions on the vouchers? All in favor of approval, please signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The vouchers are good. I looked at the sheet, Rich. I did not see anyone sign up. Okay, we will roll past public comment. And I believe our student council reps were unable to attend. I saw an email from one for sure.
Both student council reps had last minute conflicts that came up. I know a lot of their work right now. I can give a really brief student council update because I know that a lot of their work right now is preparing for homecoming week, which is coming up next week. So a lot of fun activities throughout the week, starting a week from today.
All right, we will look forward to hearing from our reps when they can join us again. And Rich, you might as well stay on the floor. The superintendent update would be next.
Yeah, a couple things that I want to highlight around the start of the school year. We heard last board meeting from our principals and directors about some of the work that went into preparing for the start of the school year over the summer and during workshop week. Now we're into the school year, and I just want to report out that it's been a very smooth start across all of our schools. When I've been out in classrooms, a lot of comments about how well the start of the school year is going at all of our schools. So it's been really good to see and to hear from folks, and it really is a testament to all the hard work that goes into getting ready for the start of the school year. Our teachers and support staff did a great job, our administrators throughout the summer in getting things ready to go, and our students have done a really nice job so far this year. So you maybe saw on social media, Rocky the Red Hawk was out at all of the schools. A really enjoyable time both for the students, staff, and for Rocky. I think had fun getting out into the schools. And then one thing that I do want to highlight for that's taking place during homecoming week, and that'll be before our next board meeting on Thursday, September 21st, is our Wall of Honor inductees ceremony, and that's at 7 p.m. Board members, obviously, and all community members are invited to attend. That will be in the Performing Arts Center at Milton High School. Again, that's September 21st at 7 p.m. And there are five inductees: Dennis Campion, Lawrence Dickoff, Bob Johnson, Scott Murray, and John Cousin are all going to be inducted. They're well-deserved inductions into the Milton Wall of Honor. And then one last thing to highlight, that this coming Friday is the third Friday in September, so the third Friday count at school districts across the state will take place. At our next board meeting, we'll give the board an update on where our both our resident count and our enrollment count, including resident students and open enroll-ins and open enroll-outs has landed from our third Friday count.
Very good. Anybody with questions for Rich? All right, we will roll on. 3 is a presentation, and one that I look forward to, and I'm sure that I share that sentiment with all of the board. We would like to welcome Amy Kenyon to the podium and talk about our school to career program and all the great things that she does for our kids.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm just going to set this here because I did get my voice back after the beginning of the year, because usually the first of every year, like many staff members, lose your voice because you're not used to talking to students all summer. So I have my voice back, but I better keep my water just in case. So I'm Amy Kenyon, and I think I know pretty much everybody here. I'm the School to Career Coordinator, and I'm just going to give you a brief background of how this position evolved and what it has become. So, there we go. Whoops, I got it. Okay, so I actually am a Milton High School graduate, class of 1991, and I was pretty involved in high school. Decided I was going to go to college and I was going to be an accountant, and then I became a business education teacher. So I was a business education instructor. I started in January of 2000 at Milton High School. I actually did an internship at Oregon High School. And then in 2016 is when I transitioned to the School to Career Coordinator. So at that time, our current School to Career Coordinator, Sandy Douglas, was retiring. And so we needed to get a certification in order to continue the Perkins grant and grant work. So that's when I was asked if I would fill that role. And so 2016, I transitioned into my School to Career Coordinator role. Basically, what I tell students is my job is to prepare you for when you leave the high school. When you leave this building, I want you to be ready, whether it's going to work, to school, to the military. I have many students that contact me 1, 2, 5, 10 years away from when they graduated. So it's not uncommon to have students that contact me after they graduate, because we all know that it takes some students a little longer to mature and to figure out what they want to do. So I work to connect students with opportunities for their career path, and not only just their career path, but also the community, because I want students to understand that the community, they can be involved in the Milton community, and then they can understand that there are jobs here when they decide to get their career and they have a job when they come back. Because I think a lot of our students, they always think that I'm going to go to college, I'm going to go off, I'm going to go to some big city, and I'm never going to come back to Milton. And I want them to see that there are opportunities here in their chosen career. So that's a lot of what I do too. So one of the things that I work with students on, we have a number of students that already know what they want to do in high school. And I've had a number of freshmen through seniors come to me and say, I want to be this. I work with them to say, okay, well, have you taken all the classes you can at Milton High School? If you haven't, why aren't you taking this class? Let's look at this class. If you've taken every class that you can at Milton High School, what classes can you take then at the secondary level for college to help you get your goal to that career? So I work with a lot of students on the Start College Now and the Early College Credit Program. So the Early College Credit Program is through the UW system. That is, if we do not have a comparable class in the Milton School District for that student to take, we have to pay for them to take it somewhere else. And then the Start College Now program is through the technical college system. So that could be Blackhawk Tech. We most often work with Blackhawk Tech. We have had some students take classes at Madison College because Blackhawk Tech doesn't have certain degrees, things like that. But that is through the technical college system. So students that take classes in that, for instance, our welding program, we have a number of students that are very interested in manufacturing and welding. They may max out on all the welding classes, so they want to take the welding classes because it's very convenient here right in Milton. So that's kind of what I work with them on, getting them signed up, getting them applying for everything, getting all their paperwork in. The nursing assistant program is also an example of this. We put that through it's through Start College Now. And I'll explain that in a little bit, but the nursing program is also a Start College Now thing. And stop me if I'm talking too fast or if you have questions, because it's easier just to ask them as we're talking. Another thing that I work with is Blackhawk Technical College. So advanced standing courses. These are courses at Milton High School that the students can earn college credit if they go to Blackhawk Tech, and they also earn high school credit at the same time. So advanced standing courses, these are all of our courses right here that if they take them at Milton High School with our Milton High School teacher, they can then go to Blackhawk Tech, they can get credits for these courses there. So I work with Blackhawk Technical College to get these agreements lined up so that our classes line up with their outcomes, and then our students benefit because they can take those credits if they go to Blackhawk Tech. I've had a number of students that have taken credits through Blackhawk Tech, and some colleges will even transfer these from Blackhawk Tech, so I always talk to students about that and help them with the transfers.
Question, Amy.
Yeah.
Does Blackhawk leaving Milton, where Can Do is coming in there, does that impact what you're able to do with kids somewhat?
Only by location.
Okay.
They're still gonna have all of the same programs, so it won't be as convenient for our students to go there, but Blackhawk Tech has a learning program that's flex learning. So that can be, students can either participate in person, online, or they can make appointments with the professors. So for our students, they could attend online and still be here. So it's not as big of an issue unless it's maybe they have to go in for lab classes, something like that. So that will impact them in the future, but not quite as much because the only programs that were there were welding. I think we had some IT students. And so it's probably maybe 3 students at the most a year that will impact. Good question.
And does the STEM edition that we did kind of augment that somewhat?
Yes, but the Higher Learning Commission has changed their regulations. So we could provide more welding classes, but we have to have a teacher in each category of the classes we want to, they have to have a master's in their discipline.
Sure.
How many people do you know have a master's in welding? So the Higher Learning Commission has kind of really limited us to what we can have for articulated classes. So last year, for instance, Sarah Harbatine was our speech teacher. She was able to, because of her master's degree, we could articulate speech, which means transcripted credit. That means a student can take that. They have a Blackhawk Tech credit that they can take anywhere in the state, UW system. They'll take it. So I had students all over from La Crosse going to Madison. Madison's probably the few that did. But they would ask to get those credits because they took speech in high school and then it counted for speech in the college level. Well, the Higher Learning Commission over the past year has changed all the restrictions now. So it has to be a master's level that teachers have to have in order to teach classes where they automatically get the credit. So advanced standing is a little less restrictions. So our teachers can teach that as long as the outcomes are the same. And they don't have to have masters. So yes, good question. And we're kind of limited too, because Blackhawk Tech, the programs that are here, we have a huge agriculture program. I don't need to tell you guys that, but their ag programs in Monroe. And so I have a lot of students that want to work to try to get classes from them, but they can't get to Monroe because that's an hour away. So we work with like trying to get the online classes, or we look at alternatives, things like that. So the health sciences program. Over the past year or two, our health sciences has really bloomed. When I'm saying health sciences, before we only had nursing assistant. And we ran this through the Start College Now program, and we would send our students to Blackhawk Technical College. Well, about 2 years ago, we started working with Edgerton High School, and we combined to have our own class of just high school students with Edgerton High School. And they would go to Edgerton High School. We only had 4 spots.
Amy, can I pause you for a second?
Yep, thank you. Oh, yes, thank you. Oh, yes. Yes. There. Okay, thank you. So, I'm sorry, my teacher mode starts moving. Okay, so at Blackhawk Technical College, we sent our students there. we decided to take them to Edgerton High School because we combined with Edgerton High School. Edgerton High School, we had 4 spots, they had 4 spots, because you can only have 8 students in a class. I had 14 students want to take nursing assistant the first trimester. We only had 4 spots. So we decided to get working on a program at Milton High School and bring this elective to students right at Milton High School. So now they can take this class at Milton High School. We have 8 students in the first trimester class. We converted a room that we had for teacher planning. We converted it, and you can see the pictures there. The community, I cannot tell you, they really came out in droves to help us with this. Grace donated 2 hospital beds. Edgerton Hospital donated a number of things. Mercy, I've been in talks with SSM. I'm working with all of the organizations in the area to kind of form a health collaborative now, because we're trying to work to get more classes like the nursing assistant at the high school level. Because in the health sciences, they're hurting. And in a lot of other areas, career areas, they're hurting too, but the health sciences is especially hurting because we have a lot of people that are getting older and we don't have people to take care of them. So we have 8 students now that first trimester, they're going to be taking this class. They will test in December and they'll be certified in December. So they can go into the workforce right away, they can get a job, they can be a youth apprentice in nursing assistant. I have a number of students and businesses that I work with that they start as a dietary aide, they take the nursing assistant class, and then they move into a nursing assistant job. So it's all part of the health sciences program. You know, hopefully one day we can look at EMT, we can look at medical technology, medical terminology, things like that, classes to get these students ready. Because it'd be great to have them starting their career before they leave high school. Certifications, another thing that I work with is with instructors, students on certifications. So we have a number of different certifications at Milton High School. Our tech ed classes, the snap-on certifications. So they basically are tested on measurements. There's 6 different certifications in snap-on. We have the Wisconsin Assistant Child Care Teacher certification. This is, they take 2 classes with Ms. Barra. They go to the daycare setting. They have to have 10 hours in at a daycare setting. And then they fulfill all of the assessments. They earn that certification to become a daycare teacher, an assistant daycare teacher. So that's something they can walk away from Milton High School with, get a job in that. And then further their education if they want to go into education. We have Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint certification. So that's in our business department. They do those. I work with them then to get those students certified, get them certificates. And then we also like to put it on their transcript, because when a student leaves, they should be able to see what they've done. And the transcript is a great spot for that. So we list all their certifications on there. The CNA certification we already talked about. Youth apprenticeship. Youth apprenticeship, if you're not familiar with the program, this is a program in Wisconsin for students in junior and senior year. They have a job that's year-round that is in a certain category of the 16 career clusters. Imagine that, okay? You can earn a certification in agriculture. You can earn a certification in hospitality, tourism, and lodging. You can earn a certification in health sciences. So this is through the youth apprenticeship through Department of Workforce Development. Students can earn a certification if they fulfill 450 hours for a year. They work with the same employer, and they have a skills list that they fulfill. Okay? So I work with all the students on that. I can tell you right now, I have about 120 students already enrolled in this program for this year. I had 150 last year. It's just a matter of getting all the students the certifications is the difficult part. So we still work with that. But youth apprenticeship certifications is also one that they can take with them. The state is talking about trying to push that will mean something for students when they leave the high school. Maybe a college would give them credits for it. They're still pushing to try to get that to mean something more than just a certificate for them. The Wisconsin Cooperative Education certifications, very similar to youth apprenticeship certifications, but it is actually through DPI. So DPI has different categories for the clusters, and if I have a student that maybe they work at a fast food restaurant, the youth apprenticeship program will not let me enroll them because they want it to be homemade food. Whereas the DPI, Wisconsin Cooperative Education Certification, they may say it doesn't have to be homemade food, but they just have to have some other skills with it. So I have the choice between, depending on where the student works, where I can put them and enroll them. Any questions on that? Because that's a lot of information. So college and career exploration activities. So youth apprenticeship co-op, we talked about that. I had 150 students last year. This year I'm over 100 right now. When I started youth apprenticeship, actually before I started the school to career coordinator position, I was involved in the community, and I would have a lot of employers come up to me and say, hey, you work at the high school. I need a high school kid to work at my shop part-time. And at the time I was only teaching accounting, and I felt like, well, this isn't really fair to any other students at the high school if I'm only telling my accounting students about the jobs. So I started MHS Jobs. MHS Jobs is on Instagram and Facebook. I have employers that contact me now, 7-8 years later, can you post this job? Piggly Wiggly just asked, can you post this job? This is how I get to know employers, and instead of me always going to employers and saying, hey, will you hire my student? I can say, you know what, if you don't have any openings at this time, that's great, that's fine, but hey, just keep me in mind because I have this MHS Jobs and I have a business card that has it all on there. And if you want me to post any jobs for you, I can do that. Because I feel like as, you know, the community, we always ask for something. We don't often give, you know, as a school district, you always feel like you're asking for donations. You're asking for something. I felt like this was something that I could give back to employers. And it actually had a great effect because now I pretty much know probably every manager in every business in Janesville, Milton, Edgerton. I mean, I've had students in Delavan. I've had students working all over. So it's really gotten me connected with these managers and the businesses. So that's the MHS Jobs. On that resource, I always put the minimum age that this employer hires. I always put, how do you apply? And then I always say, okay, many employers are giving me their applications now because they want to speed it along, or else I tell them to go online to apply. And then I also say, if you have any questions, come see me, because I was just working with a student the other day. It was his first interview. He was very nervous. He didn't know what to do, you know, so we talked about what he should wear, what kind of questions they're going to ask, so that he was ready for that interview today. So, firefighter EMT cadet program. This has kind of been on hold in Milton because of the fire department merging with the Lake District. So we're kind of waiting, and they're going to get that all figured out there, and then we will probably go back to this. But what this was, is we ran it very similar to youth apprenticeship. These students, they would report to the fire department, and they could watch and learn from the fire department there. And then they would take a class while they were there, Firefighter 1 through Black Hawk Tech. So it was a great benefit for those students that were thinking about being a firefighter, thinking about being an EMT. You know, I've had students come back to me and go, no, like, I don't want to do that. There's no way. And I said, well, isn't it better that you found out now than you did after you went to school for how long to do this? So it's just a great way for them to get inputted into that skill or into that career and see if it's really for them. Similar to that job shadow program. So I have a number of students that come to me and say, I'm interested in this. Can I do a job shadow in this? So I work with them then to schedule it it could be health sciences. I've had students I had a student that wanted to be a meteorologist. We went to Channel 3 in Madison. They showed us how they predict the weather. They showed us everything that they do behind the scenes, and then we got to sit in and watch the broadcast. I've had students interested in a lot of different things. I had a student that was interested in being a paleontologist, wanted to dig dinosaur bones, right? I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is like the most difficult one. I found out that there's a Milton High School alumnus from 1995 that was on a dinosaur dig in California at that time. So I contacted that person and I connected the student to him via email. So he could ask him, how did you get to that? What did you do? What was, because some careers you cannot job shadow, social work, things like that, private information. So I still like to connect them so they can at least ask questions and see if it's something that might interest them. So I organize job shadows for students. Career Day is a big event for us at Milton High School. All 1,000, how many students we have participate in Career Day. So students, April 10th, they select 2 careers that they're interested in. We have a number of speakers. We have usually around 80 speakers that come in. Ashley Williams is a rock star with this. She is the one that starts scheduling students in there and gets them all, their schedules all figured out. We have the colleges and post-secondary in one gym. So the students then go into one session is to see all the different post-secondary, like military colleges. And then we have what's called an adulting section. And that's how do you tie a tie? How do you cook basic food? How do you change a tire on a car? It's just basic things that maybe you and I think are pretty simple, but for some students it might be difficult or they've never been taught that. And I have to admit, changing a tire on a car, I still keep watching that because I keep thinking, oh, this is good. I should know this. So it's things that I probably don't even know too. So budgeting skills, financial things. It's just a great way for students to say, oh, I never even thought of that, or I didn't know that, and to learn that. Because we all know, some families teach things and some don't. So it's just great to see that. College and career exploration activities. So we also have a job fair in the spring. Milton High School was actually the first to bring this about to the high school level. I had worked with DWD in Rock County, the Rock County Job Center, and the jobs were so plentiful. And I said, high school students, why aren't we talking to high school students? And so we were the first location for a high school job fair. We had over 45 employers. They come into our gymnasium. Students can walk around. They can apply right on the spot. Some had interviews on the spot. And if it wasn't a job that they were interested in, it might be a career later on. So we had a lot of employers that would say, you know what, we don't hire until 18, but these are everything that we're going to offer you. We're going to train you. We're going to send you to school. Just getting students informed, so that they know, oh, hey, it's April of your senior year. Maybe you don't have a plan right now. Maybe one of these could be something that's a good fit for you. So we do that every year in the spring, and freshmen through seniors actually go through that. The trades fair. Trades fair, Milton High School was the first to do this also. I worked with the Southern Wisconsin Building Trades Council, and we had 16 trades. They come into the high school, and it's hands-on activities. Because if you say that you're gonna have a career fair, kids are like, oh, we're gonna sit in the classroom, this is gonna be so boring. Okay, the trades fair, they walk around and there's hands-on activities at every different trade. So we have the iron workers, we have the electricians, we have the operating engineers. And a lot of students don't understand all the different trades and what there is. So it's a good way for them to see, if you're good with your hands, you may only know plumber, electrician. There's a lot of different trades out there. And then there's a lot of great opportunities in those trades because a lot of people are retiring now and they need to refuel the workforce. Health and manufacturing events. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm working with a lot of the different healthcare organizations. We're trying to get an alliance together. I don't know if you've heard of the State Line Manufacturing Alliance. Okay, the State Line Manufacturing Alliance, they started about 3 years ago. I was in with the initial group. We had about 4 companies that started this. It's basically a bunch of manufacturers that got together to say, you know what, we need to combine forces for training and to attract people into our area. It's now well over 30 companies, and it's growing continuously. I had companies that I go and visit, and I tell them about that. I visited a business in Port Atkinson. They joined it. Everybody's joining this because they're coming up with training solutions for anyone in manufacturing, not just your company. Because the philosophy is if they work together, they can have a system where everybody can get trained and everybody can find employees. So we're looking at that for a healthcare organization, hoping that maybe we can get something like that together to get education for younger students in high school age and start their career path earlier if they're ready. If they're ready and they know what they want to do, if we can have like a healthcare alliance that could help them and guide them, and then the schools could join, the healthcare organizations could join, and we could come up with a pathway for these students so that they're ready to graduate and move on in that industry. Business career tours, we went to Mercy Hospital last year. We had 24 students that got to tour 3 different locations in the hospital. A lot of them didn't know that surgical tech was such a thing, or they got to learn about different careers because, like again, like the other occupations, they know doctor, nurse, basic careers. They don't know the other careers that they're available to. So they got to see some of those careers that they don't hear about all the time. SSM Hospital in Madison, we went there. We got to tour the lab. They showed us how they test, cultures, things like that. So that was really interesting for our students. Connected it to their biology classes, which was really nice. Operating engineers in Coloma, Wisconsin. So that's a field trip. So that's if you don't know what operating engineers are, they're the heavy equipment operators. So the big diggers, I always say. Not for some reason, I always do this with my hands when I say that. So the big diggers. Okay, so that's the operating engineers. That's in Coloma. That's their training facility. So we take students up there twice a year to learn about the operating engineers and learn about apprenticeship in that. Scott Forge is in Clinton. They are a big supporter of our program. They are big in State Line Manufacturing Alliance. We actually have one student that's in his 2nd year working there in the metal forging. Keller Incorporated came to me and said, I heard you're the person that we need to talk to. We're building the new building for Charter NEX, and Charter told me that I need to talk to you if we want to have youth apprentices. And so I have a student there that's helping to build the brand new addition to Charter NEX. So a senior, he gets release time to go help, and he's learning to build from the bottom up of an industrial building. BTC Tech Exploration Days, I take students there, so they have manufacturing days, they have welding, they have IT. Students that come to me and say, oh, if you're interested in IT, if you're thinking about Black Hawk Tech, you can go to Black Hawk Tech for like a half day. They tell you about their program and what the outcomes are and how you get applied to that program. And then JP Cullen, that's coming up October 5th. So it's a construction fair similar to our trades fair. Students walk around, they get to see all the different hands-on activities with the trades. And that right there is actually the SMA State Line. The picture is one of our students bridged from a youth apprenticeship to a registered apprenticeship. So that's our goal of the youth apprenticeship program, is that students start out in the youth apprenticeship program, graduate high school, and then bridge and continue with that company and continue their training and their career with the company into a registered apprenticeship. So he was one of our students that, with Scott Forge, bridged to a registered apprenticeship. And Milton actually had the first student to bridge to a registered apprenticeship with Frito-Lay in Beloit also. So we've had a number of students that have done that. Grant work. So now I have a lot of grants that I work on, yearly grants. The Perkins Grant, Carl Perkins Grant, is a career tech ed grant. It was developed in 1991. I can tell you that because I remember it because I was high school. So, but it's a federal grant for career and tech ed. That's the reason I started this position, is because Sandy Douglas retired. We needed somebody for a certification because you have to have the coordinator certification to apply for this grant. So I was able to get that from UW Stout. We have a consortium with Edgerton School District. So that means they are the fiscal agent. I write the grant for Milton and Edgerton School District. They administer with the fiscal, they do all the cash, the intake and the outtake. We then bill them for whatever we use for the consortium, but they're just the fiscal agent, but we write the grant. And that's about $18,000 each year. The DWD, so Youth Apprenticeship Grant. We also have a consortium with Edgerton. We used to have a consortium with Rock County with Blackhawk Tech about 7-8 years ago, and we found that we weren't really, we wanted to do more with the program than what was happening with the program. So we went and formed our own consortium with Edgerton School District. So that grant is about $50,000, and we share that equally between the two schools. And that allows me to register students in youth apprenticeship, to do the work visits, to do the business visits, to collaborate with businesses, trying to work with them to find employers and employees together. So bringing them together. Act 59, the Tech Incentive Grant, this is an annual grant and it's based on funding, but I can tell you right now, the funding for this especially has been going up because they want certified, they want skilled workers. They want skilled workers or skilled individuals coming out of high school. So this is a grant that's based on certifications. So if a student graduates from high school with a certification, and it has to be in their list, they have a number of certifications, then we apply for this grant. So I take all of the seniors from the class of, right now I'm working on the class of 2023. I have to maintain what certifications each student has received, and then I apply for this grant. We can get up to $1,000 per student for this grant. So the Snap-on tools, the nursing assistant, the youth apprenticeship certifications, they all are added into this grant. The Wisconsin Fast Forward Grant, right in the heart of COVID. I remember this one well. So this was when the STEM wing was added on. We wanted to get some equipment that we could use to train our students. And so we utilized the Fast Forward Grant for welding equipment and manufacturing equipment. So that was through the Department of Workforce Development. So that was that. And then past grants, the DNR Angler Grant. In case you didn't know it, I am a coach for the Milton High School Fishing Club. Don't ask me how that started, but so I am a coach for the club, and we applied for a DNR grant. I got to know the DNR very well because I worked with them quite a bit. I'm a certified angler educator, so I can teach fishing, I guess that means. And then, so we received a grant for that, the Financial Literacy Innovation Grant. That was a grant that we received when we first started requiring financial literacy in Milton. It was a $10,000 grant from the Department of Financial Institutions. And then the WICPA grant, accounting grant, when I was a teacher in accounting, I would always apply for that and take my students to learn more about accounting careers. So the community, so the Rock County Job Center, I work very closely with them on the career day, the job fair, on other employment resources. I've had students that have come after graduation and they want resources. We work back and forth, the Rock County Job Center, and I do. If I can't help a student, I refer them to somebody there. If they know that it's a high school student, they refer them to me. We kind of work back and forth so that we can give all the opportunities that we can to our students. Employment resources, similar. MHS jobs, I'm on a number of listservs. So the Rock County Job Center sends me all their job openings. I post them if they're deemed appropriate for high school students. And then back and forth, we kind of work together in that. I connect the Rock County Job Center with employers that are new to the area or that I've connected with. So like Keller Incorporated, they wanted 100 employees, the Clausen Chocolates. He came and toured our high school. It's a former student of ours. That's the manager. He wanted full-time employees. Well, I can't help him with full-time employees yet, but I can connect him with the Rock County Job Center so that he can use them as a resource to try to find employees too. So I work with them. The Milton Chamber of Commerce, I am a board member. I'm the secretary for the Milton Chamber of Commerce. I'm also an ambassador. So the Milton Chamber of Commerce is comprised of about 240 businesses in the Milton area. We are growing constantly, which is a good thing. But it gives me an opportunity to meet the businesses that come in and to learn what they do. And then to say, hey, if you're looking for opportunities for students, it could be a job, it could be a job shadow. It could be learning about your company. because a lot of students don't know what different companies in Milton do. You know, they should know what is in their community. And so it's just learning from those companies and getting to meet them through the Chamber of Commerce. The Milton Chamber of Commerce Shining Star Program, we started this about 7 years ago. It's a nonprofit through the Milton Chamber of Commerce, and we're more famous for the adopt a family for the holidays. So we found that a number of families in the school district of Milton were hurt, or, you know, they're financially were hurting during the holiday seasons, and we wanted to help them. So last year we had over 45 families that were adopted. So essentially it is us, it's Milton School District families that come, they're identified through social workers, or they apply for the program, and then we connect them with a family in the community that sponsors gifts for them, for their children, for Christmas. So that's been pretty popular right now. The State Line Manufacturing Alliance, I actually talked about that already, but I'm on the Curriculum Programming Committee. So it's a number of educators. I sit on there with Janesville School District, with the Beloit School District, Beloit Turner, and Beloit Memorial. And so then we kind of go through with the employers what we're seeing at the high school level, and we connect with them so that we know that what we're teaching is what they're looking for. And I think that's important, is connecting with the employers in our area, because we can teach all we want, what we think they need, but if we know what they need and what they're looking for, connecting those employers with our staff here in Milton is essential, because then our staff gets to know these are the skills that our employers are looking for. If our staff does that, A, B, and C, our students have a leg up because they're already getting trained on those skills and they're ready for that workforce. So that's the CTE Advisory Council helps with that also. We have about 16 to 20 people from local businesses that are on our advisory council. I connect them with our career tech ed staff, and then they can go back and forth about what skills they're seeing, what's lacking, what's curriculum. We've had companies come in and say, what do you need? What equipment do you need? We want training on this. Do you need equipment? You know, things like that for resources also. So it's very nice to work together so that we are actually training students in the skills that they're looking for. So Blackhawk Technical College, I was formerly on the board for Blackhawk Technical College. I'm also on the advisory board for the Early Childhood Education and Foundations of Teacher Education. And so I've already talked about Blackhawk Tech quite a bit. But Rock County, I'm on the board there. So it's the National Alliance for Mental Illness. I'm actually doing a walk October 7th. So I thought this was important. I do this as to remember my nephew who died by suicide, and also to end the stigma. So I don't know if you've seen, Milton High School was the first high school to actually have a student group for this. They have the Raise Your Voice Club. So the Raise Your Voice Club works with students to try to raise mental health awareness issues. And so Milton High School is the first to have that group. And I'm on the board for now. Southern Wisconsin Building Trades Council, I work quite a bit with them for the trades fair collaboration, connect SDM staff with community partners. And there we go. Academic and career plan, so ACP. Another thing that we work on at Milton High School, and actually grades 6 through 12 and even earlier, is academic and career planning. So our students in grades 6 through 12 will graduate understanding careers and understanding themselves better that connect them to those careers. So at the high school level, our senior requirement is that students present their ACP. And I know a number of you have been on those panels. So I tell students, because our seniors get very nervous about this, I say, okay, essentially you're answering 3 questions. What did I learn about myself? What do I want to do after high school? And how am I going to do this? And what can I do in this community? You know, so we're connecting this to the portrait of a Red Hawk, because we want students to see that they can learn about themselves, they can connect themselves to the community and into the greater area also. So that's my work for this year. We're going to connect to the portrait of a Red Hawk. We still continue to do the ACPs. Every senior did them. Last year we had 290 students that scheduled their presentation. I schedule, every student has a half-hour time block. I have 6 going at the same time. I get community volunteers in. We've had such a great response from the community for this, that because they believe in it. And it's just a great program, because students, it gives them the opportunity to start planning, instead of before when students would say, hey, I'm going to UW-Madison, and then you find out they never applied, they never did anything towards that. This actually gives them a plan and starts them on that plan. So School District Milton, there's a grant going around for career programming, and it just popped in my head here for a minute. I've had 4 separate school districts send it to me and say, you are a model for career programming. You should be the host school for a school that doesn't have that. And so I thought, oh, do I want to add more to my plate? But I look at Jeremy like, but yeah, so I've worked with a lot of different schools. Janesville School District, they've had 2 different coordinators in their position. I've met with each one of them, kind of showing them the ropes. Beloit Turner, I met with them last summer. Beloit Memorial, I met with her 2 summers ago. So the coordinators in the area, we all collaborate. And I don't feel like I'm sharing our trade secrets, but I feel like I'm sharing how it should be done. And so other school districts are seeing that. And so I feel like we're a model for that. And I'm proud to represent the school district, and this is only my 24th year. I had a student ask me that today. How many years have you been here? I said 24 years. Really? Yeah, I know. Any questions?
I just want,
How do you get it all done?
I tell you, you have to have time management. So I know my summers, I don't have students interrupting me. So I know what I have to get done then. So a lot of the follow-up reports for grants are due in September. So I use a lot of the summer to get them in, because otherwise I wouldn't have enough time. Because I usually am interrupted a lot at my desk. But you know what? But that's the part of my job I love too, because I have a student that I call myself the Walmart grader. I stand outside in front in the morning and good morning to all the students. I had a girl that would never look up. She always looked at the floor and kept walking, wouldn't even say hi to me. Took me a year, now she says hi to me. This girl now just emailed me saying she wants to be a nurse. So now it's like, we broke that down. Sometimes it just takes steps. And so you just have to have time management steps to getting things done.
well, thanks for coming, Amy, and thanks for the presentation and for all you do. I've sat in on those ACPs, and I'm always very impressed at the many things that are available to all of our kids. So kudos to you and all the staff for helping everyone with that. So thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate that, and thank you. I had the privilege of watching you start this program
Right.
when you took over, and I can tell everybody on the board that this is growth thanks to Amy. And I remember Mr. Billhorn saying, just watch what she's going to do. She's going to do some amazing things. And a lot of this, almost everything we've seen here wasn't in place.
Right.
How many years ago you did that. And I know that comes at the cost of working after hours, like so many of our other staff, so I appreciate it. And I'm a firm believer in the word opportunities in our vision and mission. And I think you fully help fulfill that. You give our students so many opportunities, and the school district does a lot of other great things for opportunities, but I appreciate the work you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quick question,
Yeah.
I'll echo what they said, but question I have for you is, do all the seniors or maybe even juniors, how are you promoted amongst those students?
So I do many speaking engagements, which is why I lose my voice at the beginning of the school year. I go into the making the move for 8th graders that come into freshman year. I also, I coordinate a lot of the homerooms for our ACPs, so academic career plans, so that each grade level will have an ACP homeroom throughout the year. They have many. And then I go into the junior year to their financial lit classes, and I speak to all of them and talk about that. I've spoken with HOSA. A lot of times the students will say I'm embarrassing, and a kid will be walking down and he'll have a fishing shirt on, and I'll say, are you in the fishing club? So I just start, bringing up conversation, and kids talk. And so they always say, go see Kenyon. Or Mama Kenyon, I've been called. Go see Mama Kenyon, she'll tell you what, but it's more or less just getting immersed with the students. And then I call it my black book. When a student comes to see me, I put down what they're interested in. Because then if I have an employer call me and say, I'm looking for somebody to do this, I can say, oh, you know what? Jane here she said she was interested in this. I'm gonna connect Jane with this employer and see if that works out. And then if it doesn't, I post it on MHS Jobs. Or at the same time I post it. But I also give her an opportunity to go talk to that employer. So it's word of mouth, it's talking to a lot of students. I work with a lot of the clubs, the organizations, to let them know about opportunities in their area.
Gotcha. What about celebrating some of your efforts with like families? Like I think, as a parent with 5 kids in the district, I had no idea exactly what you did. So
Right.
to try to find a way to celebrate and share your efforts, I think that would be.
I have many, I'm having kids of my former students come through. I'm having many students that I've helped in the career role are now my biggest assets because they're managers, they're business owners, and they are my biggest supporters because they say, oh, you know what, you got to talk to Miss Kenyon, Milton High School. I had a business from Fort Atkinson call me and say, somebody said I have to talk to you. And so I went and toured their company. It's a manufacturing welding company. I connected them with our tech ed teacher, and they took a class there on a tour so that the kids could learn about it. I feel like I almost feel like I don't want to brag about it, but it's something that I'm very proud of. I think the students that once they graduate, they talk, and they are my biggest assets because, I've had students, the student I started the EMT cadet program for is now in Janesville. He's EMT or a firefighter EMT, he's a sergeant. So he was just so proud that he was the first one, and we started that program with one student, and he's doing what he loves to do for a career. And so it's just students like that you can showcase.
John, maybe another thing we can do though to get information out to all families across the district is to highlight some of the areas through the Red Hawk Review, through our newsletter too.
Right, or even on MHS Jobs, I try to share success stories of students. So if a student was showcased at their business, I say, hey, this is a former MHS student. There are opportunities out there that students that were in your shoes 5 years ago, they're in those opportunities now.
Excellent. Any other questions for Amy? Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Always look forward to that report. All right, 4 is HR committee met last week. Rick.
Okay, thanks. The HR committee met last week on September 6th. First item on the agenda is discussion on employee post-employment tiers. Earlier this year, in April and May, the board approved changes to the post-employment benefits for district staff. At the time the plans were approved, the board gave staff a 90-day window for those who are currently in Tier 2 to jump to Tier 3 if they chose to. Just a reminder that Tier 2 consists of staff who are not eligible for Tier 1, but would be eligible to retire by June 30th of 2057. The window to make this decision ended August 31st. Attached in board docs is a list of the staff eligible for each tier and the numbers of staff who chose to move to Tier 3. There were a total of 58 staff who choose to make this switch. Just a reminder that Tier 3 is a level in which the district will contribute a catch-up contribution to each employee's account based on their years of service. This contribution account amount assumes that each employee would have made the maximum contribution to their account in each year of employment. And moving on, the next item on the agenda, which is related, is the discussion on administrator and supervisor post-employment plan design. The new administrator and supervisor post-employment plan was approved by the board back in May. At the time, Tier 2 called for either an HRA contribution or 403 contribution to be paid out over a period of 6 years. It has been since been brought to our attention by legal counsel Shana Lewis that IRS guidelines limit the time period for these benefits to be paid out is 5 years. So the plan will be updated to pay the same amount of the benefit, but over 5 years instead of 6. Chris or Rich, did you have anything to add to that?
Just one thing on that second agenda item, we aren't looking for any board action on that right now. This spring, when we issue new contracts to our administrators and supervisors, we'll build in whether they're in Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3, that language will be built into their contracts. So that change from 6 years of payout to 5 years will be built into those contracts. I believe that there are 4 administrators and supervisors that are on Tier 2. Chris, anything else that you wanted to add? Or?
You summed it up. Any questions on any of that? Okay, that's it, Phil.
Very good. Thank you much. All right, moving on to new business. We will invite Sarah Stuckey up to the podium. We get a little bit of a recap and the highlights of our summer school.
Hello, everybody. In your board packet, you received a memo on summer school highlights, and you've had a chance to look at that. So I'm not going to go over, it's a lot of detail. I'm not going to go into every section, but I just want to hit a couple of the big talking points. Every year I'd like to report out on the FTE. As you may remember, and for those of you who are newer to the board, we get to count a third of the FTE on our third Friday count. And so summer school is an important piece of the puzzle when it comes to our overall membership. So the higher the FTE, the better it helps us when it comes to our state funding, because that is counted on not just for summer school funding, but our overall membership count. So our goal is always to grow that program, and the factors that affect enrollment section kind of highlights some of those challenges we face when it comes to growing the program, and some of the celebrations that we've had this last year. So we are still kind of working to get back to higher FTE that we had pre-COVID years. I think we can be very proud of where we're at compared to area districts, where we still have a very robust program. Proud to offer at least 10 enrichment sections for every grade, for kindergarten through 8th grade. Proud to offer academic opportunities for students from pre-K, so those incoming 4K students, all the way through our high school juniors that are trying to do credit recovery to help them with the credits they need to graduate high school. So we have lots and lots of different both enrichment and academic opportunities, which is important to us. The most popular classes are those enrichment classes in Milton. So while we do offer jump starts, we try to make sure that we have teachers for all of those classes. The class sizes in those academics classes are typically very, very small. And we try to have conversations with families and recruit kids to come to those classes that really would benefit from that extra practice and repetition. But ultimately, it's hard to compete with Lego robotics and chocolate factory and some of those fun, motivating classes. So we continue to find ways to integrate academic concepts into all of the enrichment classes. Every class has some element of reading and writing and mathematics, even if it's American Girl dolls or jewelry making. We're still integrating academic skills. Some of the things that are listed in there that are specific program notes. We did offer some new classes, brought back some popular former classes. The types of classes we offer is essentially related to the staff we have available. So if I would have had a staff member say, I'd like to teach a soccer class for summer school, we would have put that on our class offerings. We're not bound to a certain limit, because it's typically kind of like the field of dreams quote, if you build it, they will come. if we had opportunities beyond what we've offered, chances are we would have students to fill those seats. We had an extensive waiting list. This last 2 years, we've implemented a Google form waiting list. A lot of our classes fill within minutes and in the arena scheduling. But then some families sign up for summer school not having a fully fleshed out transportation plan. So then what happens is as we get closer to May, we put out communication. If you can't do summer school, if your plans have changed, please let us know. And then we really jump into that waiting list. And we were able to place a lot of families, students into those classes when seats became available. So we're proud of that. This year I added a section on the memo about behind the scenes. Person that's in the room who I didn't list on the memo but want to give a shout out to is Carrie Kleba. She did an awful lot of PR for us for our summer school program. I didn't prepare pictures. Last year I had a slideshow to show you, but I feel like I can't top all of those amazing Facebook posts that she created all summer. So you could just scroll back under the photos on our tab and just see the amazing opportunities that our students had. So thank you, Carrie, for your support of getting the word out and the visuals out to support the good things happening with our staff and our students. It was a big undertaking this year. Sarah Olson was our assistant. She just finished her first year, and I got to see the whole program start to finish. So shout out to Sarah. And our tech department does a lot to support summer school. We have a lot of non-Milton teachers that come and work for us in the summer. And so they teach in Janesville or Beloit, and they need to have a laptop so they could use the Promethean boards. The tech department collects 8th grade devices and senior devices, and they wipe enough clean and get them all hooked up and ready to go we had 1 day in between the end of the school year and the start of summer school. And they worked tirelessly to make sure we had everything ready, and it all worked very smoothly. So shout out to the tech team. Deborah Yetzen and Jody Wilder in our payroll department, this year they implemented TrueTime, which is an electronic timesheet system that our support staff has just started using the last couple of school years. And so this was a huge project to have every single hourly employee, teacher, support staff, clock in and out using TrueTime. And so they were issuing passwords and training and creating training videos and supporting. When it was time to do payroll, it was a huge undertaking for them this summer. And then they put all that work in, so when I did approvals, it only took me a few hours compared to the countless hours that they put in every time we did a payroll. So a lot of work on their end, and I know next summer will be a lot smoother because of that. Buildings and grounds crew are not only our building custodians who are trying to clean around us, but the district grounds folks do a lot to support our program, so shout out to them. And our HR department. So Chris Tukendorf and his team work hard behind the scenes to do job postings when we have shortages, to create all of the letters of appointment to let people know that it's official, that you're going to be teaching this or you'll be supporting that, and getting those out. And then because we have such a high turnover from summer to summer, there's a ton of new hire meetings that they have to conduct to bring all of those people on board to our district. And they're only coming on board for a 19-day position. But the amount of onboarding is the same as if they were being hired for us for a whole school year. So just a big shout out to them. A lot of people think of summer school as just such a short period of time, but it's really kind of a great example of collaboration among almost every single department in our district to make good things happen for our kids. So I'm super proud and grateful to an amazing group of people. Looking ahead, we're going to continue to try to keep growing it and see if we can get those numbers up again. I think every year it's just a new adventure, and so try to be really brief, but I'm open to any questions that you might have.
Sarah, you mentioned one of the factors affecting enrollment was the partnership with the YMCA. Will that happen again for the fall or the summer of 24, or is that to be determined?
So when I talked to Angie kind of midsummer, things were going really well. I didn't have a post-summer school wrap-up, but in talking to John Lyon over at Northside, obviously he hosted them at Northside, and from his perspective, he felt it went really well. So I think the district would be open to partnering again. So we're going to pursue that. Prior to that, when students go to a daycare center, parents go to work in the summer, children go to daycare, unless that daycare center provides busing, so the parents, they would charter their own bus, parents would pay a fee, they could bus in for summer school. None of those Redhawks get to come to summer school. And so this was a really awesome opportunity to partner, because all of those students who came to the YMCA in the afternoons started their day in our summer school program. And then they came and finished their afternoons. So that brought in quite a few students that then got to participate. And I know that the students were excited about it, and I think it worked well for families too. It was still one drop-off point, pick-up point, and so it worked out well. Great question. Yeah.
Anyone else for Sarah? Well, thank you very much.
Okay.
Keep up the wonderful effort. All right, as Mr. Billhorn is making his way up, we have discussion and possible action on 23-24 Milton High School extended field trip requests.
All right, thank you, Joe. As per board policy, any trip that is going overnight, or students overnight, does require board approval. We've made our best effort to bring the trips for this year, which means it's something we'll come up with somewhere along the line this year. We'll have to come back again. But before you are the 15 trips that we know are going to be happening this school year. Again, in each of these cases, the proper paperwork, have the right number of chaperones planned, and have that other requirements we put.
Make a motion down from last year. Seems like it's a little lighter.
I'm trying to think of what was not in here this last year. FBLA and FFA are by far the largest groups that are on there. I'm not thinking any of that's not on there right now. There are 3 international trips that are on there right now. You see the one that's the French club. These are it was a club that was planned or initiated several years ago. Again, these is taking that. Our several students are going to be still going on that trip, and then the 2 trips with the Spanish club.
What's the one that just says MHS for Argentina?
So, and that one is actually technically now we're not running that through the Spanish club that are Milton students, and actually it's an interchange. Bethany Worth, who's one of our Spanish teachers, is a short-term exchange program with Argentina, a program that she's been involved with in the past. Actually, we probably do a coordination with some students from Janesville as well.
And are these all funded by the organization itself?
Okay, and so for the international trips, those are students who they're responsible for the funding. If an activity account is used, then there's fundraising that they do for them.
Just one thing that I'd like to add, and Ed hit on it a little bit earlier, is in all 3 of our staff members doing presentations, whether it's Amy with her work, Sarah on summer school, and Jeremy with these extended field trips, it really highlights some great opportunities that we have for students at a lot of different age levels, although these are specific to high school. We look for providing students with learning opportunities beyond what happens in their classroom walls, and I think that we as a district do that really well. So kudos to the folks who are presenting, but also to all of our staff who work on these different programs for our students.
Jeremy, does the annual trip to Washington DC, does that not fall in this category, or does that happen this year?
It does fall into this category. That's one that you might be seeing later on.
Okay, so it's still to go.
And just for my own benefit, are these, so obviously these are extended, so like some of the ones like Australia, are those considered school days? Or are those considered absences? So like this is 6:15 to 6:25, so that's 10 days for the Australia trip.
Yeah, that's during the summer.
So these are all, I'm sorry, so, I was looking at you. Okay.
That one is, but others are not.
Yeah, others are
great too if it does take place during school year.
It's a school trip, so it's absence. It's an exact absence.
I make a motion to approve the 2023-24 Milton High School extended field trip request as presented.
Second.
that.
All right, thank you. Rick's motion, we'll give Jennifer the second on, is to approve the field trip request. Questions on that? All in favor of approval, signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. And as Ross is making his way up, we will have a discussion on cash flow needs for 2023-24.
All right, good evening, everyone. We're at the end of the agenda, so it must be time for a finance update.
Save the exciting stuff.
So tonight I want to give everyone just a brief update. This is an annual process where we go through what we call our low cash point of the year. And each year, due to the way our revenue streams come in during the course of the year and the way we spend our money, there's inconsistencies and a natural low point where we would, on paper, have no cash to spend. Our expenditures are fairly predictable. We have our vouchers or our accounts payable checks that are fairly consistent throughout the year. Obviously, at the start of the school year, we spend more to get the year going, and there's usually a bit of a spending panic at year end to get things spent on other checks, but payroll is fairly consistent. Those happen throughout the year and are no surprises. Revenues are not the same thing. Those of you who have been on the board for a long time, even those that have been listening in this room for many years, probably know that when we set our tax levy in the fall, that means our tax bills are informed in January. Our fiscal year begins July 1st. So that means that a great portion of our revenue isn't even realized until 7 months into the year. So that's where these low points come from. The next several slides just kind of illustrate that point. The first slide I have up here shows all the major revenues of the district, namely our tax levy revenue and our state aid we get throughout the year. The tax levy payments are highlighted in orange on this slide, and state aid is highlighted in blue. I want to draw some quick attention to the payment showing up for tax levy in August. The reason that's significant is for what I just mentioned. We don't get our tax payments for the current year until after the new calendar year, which means this payment in August is the last of our tax payment from last school year. So you could take that off the map for just for a brief second and realize that a lot of our revenue still doesn't start coming in until December. That first December payment is our first real aid payment of the new year. Compare that to our expenditure map, which shows much more consistent levels of spending and payroll and vouchers throughout the year. When you put these two together, it starts to tell a picture. So those two graphs on the two previous slides are now superimposed on each other, as well as a trend line of where our cash position is throughout the year. And we're talking about now is that low dip in the end of November that signifies that's our lowest cash point. At this point, based on the way we project cash flows using the same criteria I just outlined, we're showing that our lowest cash point is going to be the last week of November, going into the first week and a half of December, where we would have roughly $750,000 we could not cover with existing resources. In years past, we've had two different methods of how we address this. We participated in PMA's plan program, which is a short-term borrowing issue where we issue formal bonds, we go out to the market, and we get money we pay back within 12 months. We've also utilized our local banking partners to issue a line of credit for these low cash areas where we can draw money on mostly a moment's notice and pay back as quickly as possible, incurring as little interest as possible. This year, we are not participating in the plan program with PMA because our cash point is not as low as it's been, or not as severe as it's been in many years previously. However, we will be going out and reaching out to our local banking partners to take action on the 25th to identify what that line of credit will be for this year. In years past, that line of credit has been up to, I believe, $1.9 million, but we've never actually utilized that throughout the year. But given that we're only looking at about $750 at our lowest point, we want that line of credit in place so that we can move around that number if it comes up throughout the year. And that's actually it. So if there's any questions.
Ross, how does this compare from year to year? Is it about consistent?
It's improving. One of our long-term goals has been to move our fund balance to between 20 and 25%. We're still well within that range. We're still just below 24% as of last year's final. But even if we reach 25%, we will not completely get out of the need for short-term cash needs. But 750 is probably the best cash position you had in the last several years.
And is November traditionally the kind of low spot?
For us, it is. Because we get more aid than other districts, again, going on my previous experience, those districts that have a higher tax levy versus their state aid contribution have a much earlier tax point in which they run out of cash. My time in the Madison School District, our point was at the end of September. We will be having this discussion and issuing those all over the summer. So, thank you.
So are you saying in the past few years, we have not had to action the line of credit? Because obviously interest rates are significantly higher than they have been.
No, we have. My understanding of reviewing the last couple of years is we did the actual bond issue authorization in the first meeting in September and the line of credit at the second meeting in September. This year, we're not doing the formal bond issuance, we're not going to market, but we are doing the line of credit at the end of this month, which we've done in previous years.
Yeah, so the situation has been mitigated significantly over the past, as long time I've been on the board, and I know from before that as well. The strategic plan with that 20 to 25% kind of goal, it was a pretty significant lift in Rich and the team. Ross and Terry doing this over time is, I think, been a really good accomplishment on the finance side, and the need for the short-term borrowing to have been mitigated to the extent it has. I think it's pretty impressive over the last several years. So kudos on putting that together and executing it.
So sorry, and again, apologies, we can't borrow from ourselves to pay our operating.
Can you clarify?
So you said you have a fund balance, is that not real?
This is all baked in, so going to this last slide here. There we go. This is all incorporated, so that green line, in essence, is our, this is not the correct terminology, but it is our fund balance throughout the year. So since those payments are consistent throughout the year on the expense side, the revenues lag so far behind what we're anticipating to get, that we have to dip into fund balance throughout the year, but that's still not enough to get us through November.
Okay, I understand. So you're driving our fund balance technically to zero, below zero if we were not to go get short-term funding.
Yes.
Thank you.
For that period of time. Yeah, I mean, the fund balance, as it's measured in the financial statements, is it's also a point in time. So it's not that there isn't a fund balance, it's on that day. So.
All right, any other questions for Ross? No action tonight on this, and keep us updated for the short-term borrowing resolution.
Okay.
Very good, thank you. Okay, that's the end of new business. Miscellaneous A is the staffing report, which there are a regular version and an update.
I would move to approve the staffing report as presented.
Second.
Thank you, that was Dave's motion, seconded by Rick, to approve the staffing report. Does anyone have questions? All in favor of approval signify with aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. And gifts and donations is item B.
I would move to approve the gifts and donations with gratitude.
Second.
Thank you. Dave's motion is seconded by John to approve the gifts and donations. I see $6,931.20. So, questions from anyone? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. That clearly passes. And meeting dates, Rich?
Our next regularly scheduled board meeting is 2 weeks from tonight on Monday, September 25th, here and at our regular meeting time, 6:30 p.m. We have reached out to finance and policy/legislative committee members to find out if September 29th would work at 1 p.m. for a joint meeting. And if you haven't had a chance to respond to Carly on that, I think we'll just have an email response to her. And then another finance committee meeting, we're looking at October 18th at 6 p.m. And again, that was emailed out today, so folks are available. The main work at those two committee meetings is going to be around planning for setting the levy at that second board meeting in October. And we're looping the legislative committee into that conversation because by the end of September, we should know more on whether the legislature has made any changes to Act 141. And then we'd like to schedule an HR committee meeting for the week of October 9 through 13. So I think we can reach out because that's far enough away. We can reach out by email and see about availability for that HR committee meeting that week in October. Awesome.
Quick question on the finance and policy, how long are you looking for? Is it an hour?
An hour would be enough time.
All right, questions, anyone on the dates? All right, that's the end of the regular agenda. We have an exec session scheduled here, so I would entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1985, sub 1 and sub C, which is considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Topic is support staff employment.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. That was Rick's motion, seconded by Dave. Poll the audience. In favor, say aye, please, or yes. Ed?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Joe is yes. Rick?
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Dave?
Yes.
And that is 7-0. Thank you all. We are in executive session. We are not returning to open. FYI.